I've built a lot of PCs in the past few years and they pretty much all have the same thing in common. You slap a motherboard into the frame the same way, wire some components together and try your hardest to keep things as clean and tidy as possible. While building a PC can vary from case to case, I've never experienced a PC case as versatile and if anything as overwhelming as the Cooler Master Cosmos C700M. There were times when I absolutely hated it. It cut my hands, refused to click together and my back ached for days on end as I carted the damn thing around the studio while trying to set it up. However, in the end, the experience was insightful and I don't regret a moment I spent on it. The Cooler Master Cosmos C700M is definitely not for the faint-hearted. This case comes with levels of customization and freedom that you won't find anywhere else. You'll also need to keep in mind that this case was released way back in 2018 and even a few years later, it still holds up as one of the best around. Sure, some of the parts in this case are a bit dated. For starters, it packs a lot of old school drive slots that you'll probably never use. The same goes for the SSD slots that are now replaced with internal M.2 slots in your motherboard. Thankfully, for every slot you don't use on the Cosmos case, it means having more space to install other stuff and open areas to experiment with moving things around. Out of the box, the Cosmos C700M already comes with your traditional PC layout installed. This PC case sits at 650mm tall, is 306mm thick, and can weigh anything between 25kg and 30kg depending on how much metal you remove to get your PC layout done. In the box, you'll find the PC case sealed up and ready to go. There are also some additional vents and accessories that again are completely optional. Once you've opened up the PC and removed it from the box, Cooler Master has also packed the riser card and toolbox into the PC case for easy access. The case has two giant sides that open and close. One side is a gorgeous curved glass frame and the other is a sleek metal shell. These doors can easily be removed and I recommend doing so when building your case. The front and top panels are also both removable. This makes it easier to get into the case when building. In fact, everything you remove in this case doesn't have to be put back, which is really the fun of the experience here. Even the back panel can be replaced with a completely different grate. The case includes some ports and I/O, which include the following. I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit ambitious with my approach to this Cooler Master Cosmos C700M build. Instead of making use of the layout that was already on the case out of the box, I decided to completely remove everything from the case and start from scratch with the attempt to build what's called a chimney layout. The chimney layout would see the motherboard sit somewhat in the middle of the PC with the I/O ports facing downwards and the GPU attached to the side of the case using the cool vertical mount that comes included in the case. Of course, getting there was easier said than done, because the case wants you to know that the laws of physics still apply to building a PC and you can't just install stuff anywhere and hope it works. The Cosmos C700M includes a large mounting bracket that is the most important piece of metal to keep in mind when installing your motherboard onto the case. This strip screws either into the left or the right hand side and you have to count 10 screw holes in order to get the positioning just right. As for the motherboard mount, it is also pretty cool. The mount can be installed externally on your motherboard and then thanks to the rubber connectors, it slots into the bracket without a need for screws. This means you can also move the mount up and down if needed for more space for more components, which I did. The motherboard bracket also acts as an external test bench, so you can technically build your entire PC on the outside of this case for benchmarking and move it into the case when you're ready to go. You don't often get PC cases that act as both a case and a test bench. I took a few tries to get it right, but after a while I finally had the motherboard installed correctly. I also originally used the vertical GPU mount to place the GPU next to the motherboard, however I completely overlooked the fact that I would need space for the HDMI and DisplayPort cable underneath it, so I ended up moving that too. Somehow I don't think the case is meant to do this, but I installed the GPU against the front-facing fans using the mount. I think the result ended up looking pretty cool and the ventilation should be even better thanks to the Gigabyte Aorus RX6750XT thermal chamber now sitting above the fans. Cooler Cooler Master also sent me the Master Liquid M360R cooler, which is one of the easiest coolers I've installed. I installed it on my new Gigabyte Aorus X670E motherboard and attached the fans to the radiator. I also originally wanted to mount the cooler on the bottom of the case, but after sitting through forums of people telling me that it would shorten the lifespan of the component, I decided to switch it to the top of the case. This also meant I had to move everything down slightly, but it wasn't a major problem because again, the motherboard's brackets are rubber and the connectors simply unplug and plug in from the upper slots to the lower ones. The Master Liquid M360R also comes with its own control box, which at first I didn't decide to use. The Cosmos case also has its own box, so I routed the fans and ARGB through that box, but instead it didn't actually end up working as I expected. I'll explain why in a bit. After installing all the components, I then had to plug them all in. Cooler Master sent me the M2000 Platinum power supply, which is a whopping 2000 watt power supply. Did I need this much power? Surely not, but I won't complain when I finally have a 40 series GPU in my PC. One day, of course. The power supply is modular, and the Cosmos case also enables the ability to install the power supply on either the top or the bottom. You can also try other positions if you're adventurous. The sheer freedom on offer when it comes to where the components are positioned in this case means the wiring is also no longer restricted to where they run. You can stick adapters through every small hole and even unclip the motherboard bracket, wire things around the mount and plug it back in. I'm not joking when I say there's no limit to how you install things in this case. I also enjoyed how open everything was. The fact that the grates and panels slid in and out made wiring and unplugging things so much easier. I could also just cover up a nasty wire mess with a hard drive bracket if need be. Again, these parts are just as modular, so you can fit and tuck them into almost anywhere. An example was the GPU. I ran the HDMI cable through the bottom of the case, so I simply installed the black panel, wired everything including the power supply, and slid the grate over the top to hide everything away. If this was another case, I would have had to either squeeze my giant hands into small holes or completely dismantle the faces to get into these tight areas. Of course, I did have a few issues with the case, but it was more troubleshooting than anything else. For example, if I wanted to use the cool RGB lights on the cooler and the Master Liquid fans, I had to install the control box for that equipment. I was hoping the Cosmos box would offer customization, but it just doesn't speak to Cooler Master's Master Plus software as well as I hoped. So in the end, I linked the cooler to the provided control box and the case to the install box, and it worked. I did have one strip of RGB that refused to change color when I synced to the software, but it was better than nothing. I think my biggest takeaway from my time with this case is just how enjoyable the troubleshooting issues were and how fantastic the experience is when you're given something with this much freedom. This case is overwhelming, I'm not going to pretend it's not. However, the best thing I could do for myself was to remove every single mount and metal cover and find unique ways to put it back together. The process behind this taught me new ways to approach PC building that break away from the traditional layouts you could find out there. I would have never had the same experience with another case. So yes, this case isn't perfect, and sometimes I felt like throwing in the towel, especially when I was tripping over wires, grates and components. But I loved the experience, and it went beyond just following the same traditional building process. In the end, my motherboard faced upwards, my GPU is beautifully displayed in an upright position, and all the wires are neatly threaded through the black grate, which is also unlike any other traditional PC case you get out there. The motherboard mount also means I can simply remove the motherboard in future, install a new one and just slap it in. It makes life so much easier for someone who reviews these components and needs stuff that can easily be removed and put back. I want to thank Cooler Master for sending this case through. They taught me so much about PC building, and it broke the boundaries of me tackling this PC build from a traditional point of view. The Cooler Master Cosmos C700M is one of the most expensive PC cases on the market, but the versatility here makes it definitely worth your buck. It's great to be able to take things out and move things around if you get tired of keeping things the same way. This is just the beginning of this modification for me. As I get more components, I'll definitely change things around and install new things. There's definitely a world of possibilities when it comes to what you can do with this case. Is this a PC case you've had on your wish list? Let us know down below. If you have any questions, also pop them in the comment section below. As usual, please consider liking and subscribing so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until next time, farewell.